Welcome to the England Rugby Pod. Thanks for downloading episode 21 as Eddie's young blood England took on Argentina in the second of their two-test series and came up with a second win. You're listening to the England Rugby Pod, the rugby podcast that believes England will win the World Cup in 2019. Hi guys, welcome back. We're on episode 21. It's the second of the England-Argentina test matches, part of the summer tour this year. Obviously, massively under-strength side, given that so many of our boys are over in New Zealand with the Lions. Always going to be a tough call. But they've gone out today and they've secured their second win out of two, 25-35. They won that one. And here again with friend of the pod, Ben Cooper. Dan is not with us, so Ben has joined us again. We can't keep him away. How's it going?
Yeah, very well. Evening, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
So just before we crack on, Ben, because I know you've got, you're quite handy. Me and Dan are both obviously in the backs, and you've got a little bit more forwards knowledge. So it's quite a nice balance when we get you involved. But just before we crack on with today's game, a quick nod to, firstly, the England women, who beat New Zealand yesterday to become the number one side in the world. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, amazing.
I think the Red Roses, I think they're called, aren't they? And they've just been going from strength to strength. You know, they're really kind of shining a light on women's rugby, which is great to see.
No, 100%, and kudos to them reaching that stage. They're just, as you say, they're going from strength to strength, and it's always good to put one on the Kiwis at whatever level, age.
Psychological, exactly. Psychological. Well, we have a second chance to do it because, of course, the under-20s play New Zealand in the under-20 World Cup final tomorrow. So another England-New Zealand final and another opportunity to stick it to them again. Whether that will happen, I know that I've seen a few clips of some of the performances from the Kiwi under-20s, the All Black under-20s, and they look pretty sharp. But the England boys look sharp as well. So it'll be an interesting one to see how that pans out. And there will be an episode on that tomorrow, possibly Monday morning, is when you'll be able to get that one.
Yeah, I mean, I've never thought I'd say it, but it's almost been an overdose on rugby this weekend and cracking results throughout for England. So, bring on the future.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, let's turn to today's game. As I say, it's the second of the two tests. It's the second win of the two-test series. Which is obviously, first and foremost, is brilliant for two reasons, I think. One, obviously, a lot of youngsters out there, not necessarily, I keep calling them youngsters. I probably will continue to refer to them as that because I am quite old. But, a lot of newbies, certainly, a lot of fringe players and guys that haven't really been involved in the setup, but have been given this opportunity because of the Lions. And it's obviously great for them to be able to, come away from a tour like this, with that experience of winning, because it's such a key part of the game is getting into a winning mentality. So that's obviously, fantastic for them. But I think almost more so, it's almost like they've done it. It's sort of a credit to the. I can't remember how many of our boys are over in New Zealand now. 12, is it?
16.
Oh, 16.
16 was selected originally.
Billy's out. 15. Billy gone, right? Oh, and James Haskell went out. James Haskell went out though, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. So 16 missing. I wasn't arguing. I was texting my Argentinian friend, telling him that a potential third string England team were taking it to a nation that does well in the World Cups and finishes in the top four.
Yeah.
So be wary of said youngsters. And with that in mind, after a great result today, I think last week was tentative. Eddie Jones had come out with this very young squad. Not all of them were going to play, but they went for the experience. They went for the learning from the older guard, if you will. George Ford's 24, so you can't really call him that. But
yeah, that's the problem, isn't it, with these England boys.
Yeah, and then this week, I don't know how about you, but I sat down, I watched the game, I thought, you know what, I don't see Argentina offering a win. After we blew last week, I felt a little bit more comfortable in the youngsters and England's performance. Yes, they leaked a couple of tries, which we'll come on to. But I don't know. I felt a bit more confident as an Englishman in sport that we would only come away with a W.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because there were elements of the game that I'm sure you can offer slightly better insight on, because a lot of it revolves around the pack. But there were elements of the game where England did seem massively under pressure, and I think it's really important to remember that 16 key England players, 16 of the key kind of the 23-man squad, the starters and the finishers, are not involved in this, which is a huge number. It's more than the starting 15. So it's easy to kind of, I think it's a credit to these England boys that we kind of look at this team and we have expectations that are really quite high. When in actual fact, there's absolutely no reason whatsoever why they should be able to go out and do what they've done. So it's a huge credit to them that they can go out and win twice against a team that, as you say, finishes in the top 4 in World Cups.
No, 100%. Obviously, you look at Lions, let's say the type 5 of the Lions, they're Saracens and they're England. Yeah. You've got George missing, you've got Makavunapola, Atoja, Cruz, and it's just generally a brand new type 5. A brand new type 5. Dylan Hartley's at the helm. He's got Genge and the big boy, Harry Williams. What an absolute ox that guy is. And he's got to learn on the job, if you will. And I think they did well. I think the Argentinian scrum is a massive weapon for them, and they showed it today. We were driven off the ball on a couple of head-to-heads, but the youngsters held their nerve and did really well. Again, the set piece wasn't perfect, but when you're losing almost an entire pack to the Lions, I think that the youngsters, I've got to stop you, the new guys, I think they did particularly well to go up against, like you say, a nation that's finishing in top 4 in most World Cups.
Absolutely, and actually that's probably a good moment to sort of bring up a point. So, as a back, as someone who knows very little about playing in the front 8, why were they so dominant? Why were the Argentinians so dominant in the first half, in the scrums particularly? And England were able to sort of turn that around and not dominate the scrums, but also not give anything.
I think in the second half they just put up with it. But the Argentines are very proud. They're similar to the French front row, where they're very bullish, very pick on them, and they take a lot of pride in being aggressive up front. Yeah, especially in the front row. They produce some specimens. France are doing it at the moment now as well. You've got Slimani, who's just huge, and they're priding themselves on these big up front motors. But as we all know, they run out of steam after 50 or 60 minutes. So if you can just withstand the storm for that amount of time, then you can unlock him, and they'll bring on someone new, and that's the way to do it. But as I said, people that don't have all the flair, and the Argentines do, but they do rely on a really big front row or in a tight 5, and that's always been the Argentine way. But if you can withstand them for a certain amount of time and learn from them, then you've got it in the bag. And I think that's exactly how England's forwards did. They weathered the storm. There was a bit of creaking, don't get me wrong, but ultimately they came out on top.
Yeah, and I guess as well with a view to 2019, which of course is what this podcast is all about. Mm-hmm. It's a great thing to see that there is a game. With so many of the key players missing, they can still go out and put in a performance. And teams are going to evolve. There's still 2 years to go, and the Argentines, just like us, will no doubt have the opportunity to bring in new blood. But actually, I think with them, a lot of the time, it's actually the old boys. It's the experienced guys that are the ones that drive that kind of aggression that they have.
Yeah, I mean, they're a World Cup kind of outfit. Every 4 years, they manage to turn up with the goods. So let's not read anything into this. This is 2 years away. Yes, our boys have done particularly well to go to Argentina to take on a full-strength squad when not being at full strength. But in 2 years' time, I don't know how Argentina and South Africa, they tend to just get ready, up and running, ready for the World Cup.
Yeah.
Like the polar opposite to Ireland and Australia, basically. We'll see. I think today you can take encouragement. I think Jerry Guscott was right in saying that what Eddie Jones and the coaching staff have done with this group is beyond brilliant, and I can't see us losing in the next couple of years, bringing on another Six Nations, autumn internationals.
So this is the other thing that these guys have done. They've produced 2 more wins for the Eddie Jones England the new unbeaten record that they're going to have to produce, which is a big thing to have done. This could easily have been 2 losses and start from scratch again. In the autumn internationals, but actually they've got 2 wins to give the guys that are going to obviously come back into the fray after the Lions tour a little kind of like, okay, we've got something to build on rather than have to build from scratch, which is a really good thing to have done. And it's I think it almost feels like there's a lot of respect for because a lot of these guys know that this may be their only. So this may be their swan song in an England shirt. This may be their only shot. For others, there will be opportunities, and there are probably others still who, the likes of the Curry brothers, who have an opportunity to go on to become very important parts of the England setup.
I also think when England go on tour in a Lions year, people don't tend to pay any mind. They're like, well, focus on the Lions. The Lions is so brilliant, and we love watching the Lions. And I think what Eddie's done in the last year or so is bring England to the forefront. So I'm watching the Lions in the morning, having a respite, and I'm looking forward to wherever England are. This time it's Argentina. Next time it might be South Africa. And he's bringing England rugby, and the players that are watching from afar in New Zealand will be watching the England boys going, okay, maybe I've got up my game, or I reckon I've got about 6 more months in a 7 jersey, and I'm going to have to give it up to some youngster. Yeah. And I think what Eddie Jones and his whole ensemble have done is bring England rugby to the forefront. So we're not forgetting about their tour to Argentina. I'd be guilty of it if the Lions would have taken over everything. Now these guys have the platform to stand up and be noticed, and more people are paying attention. So it can only spell good things for England rugby and the youngsters coming through for 2019.
Absolutely, and it's a great reason to watch the under-20s tomorrow. I think it's on ITV4, so it's not prime time channel, but these days with Freeview and what have you, I'm pretty sure most people have got ITV4, haven't they? So
I hope so.
You no longer have to kind of go online and find some dodgy stream in order to watch these lesser games. They're starting to become far more available, and this is all kind of spiraling off the back of the fact that Eddie has done what he's done with the senior team, because of course suddenly every other part of English rugby and England rugby in particular becomes more appealing to people in general and more appealing to kind of grassroots rugby.
No, 100%. But if we've gone off on a bit of a tangent, but the game itself, I mean, we could probably talk rugby till cows come home. I thought the game was up and down. There were moments of genius from Argentina. They broke the line a couple of times. I wasn't a massive fan of Marlon Yar's defence, but I think he got left out to dry. And then you had flashes of genius from the older guys. George Ford taking one and watching and looking and then offloading to Brown was a brilliant try. So it was a good mix today.
I haven't seen if George Ford got man of the match again, but I wouldn't be surprised. He's a player it's very interesting, isn't it? You look at George Ford and we've never denied that he has the ability to run a flat line and create an attacking platform, and with a Farrell outside him, that's an exciting thing. But there was always question marks over his defence. There's always question marks over his kicking, particularly, not so much from hand, but certainly his points kicking. I mean, he's been phenomenal. I think he's missed one, maybe he's missed one in each game.
Yeah, I mean, I feel maybe the pressure, if he has that kind of thing, is off a little bit with Farrell and some other key players with the Lions.
Yeah.
That he's kind of eased into it. Now he's been told by Jones that, right, you got to be a leader. You got to lead by example. You got to show these kids what's going on. And I think he stepped up to the plate brilliantly. You can rely on Dylan Hartley and Chris Robshaw, and to a certain extent Nathan Hughes now as he gets more experience. But I think with Brown all the way back at 15 and May doing what he does mentally on the wing, George has got to take the close contact with Danny Kerr, and I think all the old people today showed the youngsters how it's meant to be done, and him at the forefront.
Absolutely. I mean, that was the thing, wasn't it? I mean, I think the problems today, the biggest issue, aside from the usual sort of missed tackles and giving away too many penalties and things, which is always going to be a problem. But it is a young side. They're going to make these kinds of errors at this stage because part of that is about the experience of playing at the top level.
Mm-hmm.
The defence was lacking. You know, I don't know. They didn't seem to put Argentina under so much pressure, and that's probably unfair because the Lions have been that's been one of their strengths. And of course, as you mentioned, we're watching the Lions in the morning, and then we're watching this in the evenings. So you kind of get this. You get into this sort of mindset of these sort of this kind of ultimate team, and you want to see that kind of rugby, and it's never going to happen with a team like this. So do you think that do you think that their defence is simply not good enough yet? Do you think maybe it's an experience thing, or do you think actually it wasn't too bad? It's just that I'm comparing them to a level that they're not at yet.
I think they leaked a couple. There were some line breaks from Argentina that would happen on any day, a few more than I'd like. But also, you've got to remember, most of the world see a blitz defence or a rush defence as the way to go. And then you've got people like Sexton, Bowden Barrett, Farrell just kicking over the top. So it's very hard for these youngsters to go, right, they'll be coached to a certain extent. If this happens, do this defence. If this happens, do the other defence. And potentially Argentina kept it so close that they didn't know what they were doing in certain instances. And like I said, Marlon Yard's got left out late with covering two men. And it is hard, but you're a professional sportsman. There shouldn't be those holes, if I'm completely honest. And there'll be something that the coaching staff will definitely be drawing on. I thought defence was a little bit leaky today.
Pardon me. I completely agree with you. It's a funny one, isn't it? Because we look at them and we talk about youngsters and the kids and the inexperienced guys and the fringe players and whatever else we want to call them. But we do need to remember these guys are professional rugby players, as you say. You know, they are playing at the top flight of English rugby for their clubs. So it just kind of highlights how big that step up is from top flight club rugby to top flight international rugby.
No, I mean, I was speaking to someone from London Irish, and they were talking about the jump to the Premiership, and the jump to the Premiership is phenomenal. But when you take into international, again, the players talk about it, and it's another level, and it may be a big leap because these guys haven't had as much international experience, but it will come. I have every faith in Eddie and his backroom staff and these youngsters, like figuring out and learning as they go. I mean, nothing speaks volumes than on the job learning.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I noticed today in today's game, a lot of it was back to basics. You look at, I think it was Yule's try, with just a simple offload to Launchbury and then another offload, and you see that at school level, and a lot of the stuff that England were playing today was basics, but it works really, really well. And I think every coach on the planet will get them nipped in the bud, and then you can start doing the fancy back stuff and swinging it out the back door and fancy moves. But I think England went to basics today, and it works for them.
Yeah, no, definitely. Okay, so the last time we had you on the pod, I think we both agreed that Tom. Well, we didn't both just agree. I think the pundits gave him man of the match, the crowd and all the fans agreed too. He really stepped up, Tom Curry, and made a bit of a name for himself. Certainly, I think someone that Eddie Jones is going to want to keep a close eye on. Is there
100%.
Is there anyone today? Because obviously Tom Curry wasn't included. Is there anyone today that you felt did anything similar? And are there any other of these kind of youngsters that you think Eddie Jones is now looking very closely at?
Well, I'm a fan of Sam Underhill. I thought he put in a solid shift today. I think today was one for the old guard.
Yeah.
I think Ford, Brown, they did brilliantly in the backs, and Rob Shaw and Hartley. I think Hartley did a full 80 minutes, which is quite rare for him in an England jersey because Jamie Jaws is nipping at his ankles.
He normally does about 30 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think today was one for the old guard. I think Ellis Genge didn't have the worst day, and he got a couple of decisions in the scrum against him. But as I said earlier, they are dealing with a nation and a country that pride themselves on front row and tight five antics. And if it came unlocked and it's your third cap, then so be it. But for me today, I think the older guys, the more experienced heads, led us to victory.
So yeah, I'm going to have to ask. We obviously love our England boys, but they can't all be heroes. Is there anyone that you think has probably punched their last ticket for England? Is anyone Eddie Jones has kind of drawn a line through that name and sort of said, yeah, that was a punt that I thought was worth taking and it didn't pay off, and that's that?
Well, yeah, I think it's too early to judge the youngsters or the new blood, as we say. I think Harry Williams isn't a favourite for Woodo, but for me, sadly, as a Gloucester fan, May and Yard may have really come unstuck, not just today, but I think with the options that Eddie Jones has on the wing and in the back three as an entirety, you've got Daly, Noel, Watson, all ready, and I'm sure there'll be a Christian Wade fan club somewhere that will probably agree that he needs a shot. And for me, those two older guys didn't really do anything special for me today.
And then of course you've got Denny Solomona.
Of course, yeah, exactly, and Nathan Earl as well, who did a great game against the Barbars,
and Rocco Daguni.
Yeah, it's bonkers.
So there's, with so much out there, I think it's definitely one of those positions where you don't get second chances. You don't. Well, clearly you do, but you can't have too many second chances because there's just too much competition.
We love him at the Shed, but Johnny May's backwards, sideways running is probably won't see him in an England shirt for much longer. No,
he's one of those guys. He's got so much pace that he has the ability to do amazing things, like his try against New Zealand. But I don't know. It doesn't feel like he has the rest of the game worked out yet. He often seems to be. You can kind of see him thinking, and it's sort of a bit deer in headlights at times. Other times he's brilliant, but you just never quite know which Johnny May you're going to get, or even at which point you're going to get the different Johnny Mays in a game.
No, he's a madcap genius. He's nuttier than squirrel poo, but I think more often than not, if you weigh up the percentages, he gets found out, and maybe his time has come. Painful as it is to say.
No, fair enough.
There's plenty of people coming through.
Yeah, appreciate your honesty as a Gloucester fan. But look, I think that probably covers this game. We just wanted to put out a little episode just to let everyone know what's been going on. But it's obviously been great to have you here. For those that are wondering, Dan is not here because he's had technical difficulties that have made him unavailable for today's show. He will be back, I am assured, tomorrow to talk to me about the under-20s. But once again, big thanks to Ben Cooper, the fan of the pod. Hopefully he's a fan of the pod. He's certainly a friend of the pod. And I'm sure this won't be the last time that our listeners will hear from you. But thanks so much for stepping up on short notice.
No, not at all. It's always a pleasure, guys, and thanks for listening, everybody.
Guys, as always, if you get an opportunity, it'd be really appreciated if you could pop over to iTunes, drop us a review, drop us a rating. If you want to know what's going on, the website, www.englandrugbypod.com, and all the social media is at England Rugby Pod. Thanks so much for listening again, guys, and tune in again on Monday when we'll have a bit of an update on how the under-20s got on in the World Cup final against the Kiwis. Take care, guys.
Yeah, good luck, everyone. Ta-da.